So here we are back with this BSA A65 Lightning Clubman, and I've done a bit more work on it. We haven't heard this one running yet, but I've got the ignition timing set how I want. I've also had the tank off and the rocket cover off now, and attended to the valve clearances, and the exhaust valve nearest us had a gap. You could have driven a bus through that actually. It was about twice the 10,000th of an inch it should have been. The others weren't far out, but I'd heard the engine running and it was a bit tappety sounding. Well, that was why that noise has gone. So I've got the ignition timing set, and I've got the valve clearances correct. So while I had the tank off for access to the rocket cover and the valve gear, I took the opportunity of the extra easy access to the tops of the carburetors, and I removed them as well and just had a look and compared them against some settings I've got in I've seen in manuals. And the needles are supposed to be in their middle groove of 5, and they were actually one groove lower, weaker than apparently they should have been. So I put those right, and I also synchronized the throttle slides. You do that by winding out the tick over throttle stop screws right out, and make sure you got enough slack in the throttle cables to do it. You want the slides to both bottom out in the carburetors, and then you adjust the cables so they pick the slides up in unison. Don't worry about the tick over, you can come to that later on, and that's what I did. But anyway, I've got a tick over set. It's not the best in the world, but the timing is right, the valve clearances are right, the carburetor settings are right, depending on which books or whatever you look at, but they're certainly in the zone. We've got 220 main jets, we've got 106 needle jets, we've got the needles in their middle groove now. The throttle valves have got number 3.5 cutaway. Now I've seen other information that says number 3, but we're, you know, pretty close, and I'm going to put the camera down in a moment and start the engine up, and we can take a listen to it and see what we all think. The other thing is, I've got no idea what sort of mileage this thing might have done since it's presumably been rebuilt or restored or whatever went on with it. The compression feels good, there's no smoke, plenty of good oil circulation, so nothing to worry about. And I think maybe getting a few miles on it might help a few things settle down, and maybe we might find that the tick over speed increases and needs turning down and adjusting at a later date, possibly. But anyway, enough of my waffle. Let's put this down here, and the engine is warm. It's been running, so we got a warm engine. I just don't want my camera diving off there. Right, so hopefully we can see what we need to see there, and hot engine, so I'm hoping that it'll start with a kick with no throttle. Let's see. Maybe not then. Actually caught me out before when I was trying to balance the carburetors for tick over. I put a hand over the end of this silencer and went to put a hand over one on the other side, but of course there isn't one because we got a 2-into-1 on this. You see how the tick over is a little bit up and down, and seems to be running nicely enough, but we haven't quite got that old BSA A65 tick over that's achievable even with 2 carburetors usually, but it's acceptable. But like I say, I'll probably do some more work on that try and fine tune it a little more after it's done a few miles. But it's a Friday afternoon and I think this is possibly a good place to stop with it. I'll just put the camera down again and switch it off and give it a kick and see if it will burst into life with no throttle. Let's have a look. Okay, let's see. Very close, not perfect. It'll do to begin with for now. Anyway, I think that's where I'm going to leave it for the weekend. We've got rid of some of the rattles from the tappets there, and unfortunately, like I said, I didn't run it on video as it was when it came here. I wish I had now, but I took nearly 10 degrees off the ignition advance and adjusted the valve clearances, and I've also raised the needles in the carburetors by 1 notch is the main change there. So it all sounds a lot happier with life, but you'll just have to take my word for it. That, I'm afraid. Anyway, won't be too long before it starts going a bit dark looking, and I think the pub will be opening and maybe calling, who knows. So there we are, that's where we're going to leave it until next week.